Hi, welcome to Splat Attack Podcast. I'm Splat Stanley, and today we're going to be talking about the citizens of Wellsville for March Madness. Stick around.
Kick it.
Welcome, Splat Attack Podcast, a 90s podcast honoring the slime-filled past. I'm your orange Lazarus serving ice cream man, Jordy.
And I'm your amputated shop teacher, Alex. And Jordy, I see that we have an elimination bracket in the notes for this episode. What is the competition for today?
Well, with March in full swing, we're starting a brand new segment for the podcast called, believe it or not, March Madness. I know, very original. We worked all night coming up with that name, so hopefully that's appreciated. But we wanted to do a topic that most people ignore, which was looking at the citizens of Wellsville. So I think that's what we're going to take a look at today.
I'm excited about this. I love doing elimination brackets. I used to do polls all the time on my Facebook. They're fun to sit down, discuss who and what is better. And so many brackets at this time of year, especially a lot of nostalgic content creators, they love to do what was the best 90s Nickelodeon show? What was the best Nicktoon or just best show in Nickelodeon's history? But honestly, there are so many other topics within Nickelodeon's history to choose from. So for our first episode, I'm really glad that we're taking a trip into Wellsville to pick who is the best citizen or citizens, plural. But first, we need a third person to join us. With just you and I talking about these and competing, some of these might end up in a tie.
Yeah, we need a tiebreaker around here. Do we have anyone in mind?
Just so happens, I think bus driver Stu is bringing in our guest for us. Stu, who you got for us there, buddy?
If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet.
Yes, Slimesters. This is a friend of mine who is making his premiere appearance on Splat Attack. This is Clay Prindle. What's up, Clay?
Nothing. I'm just so excited to be here talking about probably one of the greatest television shows of all time. And just talking about it with two guys that just love nostalgia just as much as I do, if not, a crazy amount more.
Just two guys.
Just two random guys. Two guys in a podcast. Well, that's not true. It's more like a whole crew. But anyway.
It's a whole gaggle.
But Clay and I, we've done a lot of community theater together, and Clay is an absolutely wonderful, wonderful person, and found out through our tenure doing shows together that he's a big fan of Pete and Pete. And this was a very last minute ask for him because we did have a guest who wasn't able to be here. So I asked him quite literally last night, and he was like, I'm on board. So thank you so very much for taking the time to jump in for us.
I think it was kind of serendipitous that you texted me because I was actually just probably about to pop it in the DVD player and start watching it again. I mean, truly. And so it was kind of funny you text me about something. I was like, yeah, of course I'm going to talk about Pete and Pete.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, well, obviously, because we've already said this is one of the best shows. How big of a fan are you, and what is it that you like so much about the show?
I think that I'm very much a person that can show you how big of a fan I am at this. Just putting it out there, I went 35 years without ever getting a tattoo, but I remember as a kid always wanting to get a tattoo. And it all stemmed from watching this show. And so I wanted my first tattoo and probably my only tattoo to be a petunia. And so I've got Petunia, my little babushka here that can dance.
Awesome.
And I get a lot of questions about her. We're out and about and, people might see her, and it's amazing. The people that recognize it, they immediately say, oh, Petunia. It's like a petunia in the wild. And then the people that don't recognize it, they actually think it's my wife. So that's an incredible compliment to have, I think. And this show, growing up, there weren't a lot of shows like it. It was a lot of sitcoms at that time. We were all watching like Full House and Family Matters with a laugh track and kind of people telling us when to laugh. But this show came out and it was so weird. and it had these kind of surreal moments, almost fever dream moments or characters that I think we all kind of knew. We all experienced them in our childhood, and they're just kind of turned up a little bit more to be a little bit more bizarre. And that's what I think Wellsville is amazing. Wellsville is amazing. It's full of these collective people that they all come from different places, or they're all maybe from that town, but they all just, I don't know, they all just have these weird personalities. But then you meet someone exactly like them.
Yeah.
When you're an adult, you meet someone exactly like those people, or you become those people.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's great about it. It's so surreal. It's so much fun. Way ahead of its time. That's thrown away around a lot, but I think it's one of those shows that was so ahead of its time that people should be able to watch it now and experience it now and really get to enjoy it. And it's kind of unfortunate you don't get to see it very much around anymore.
Yes. My buddy Joe, of course, you know who Joe is, Clay, but for those of you Slimesters, he's been several episodes talking about Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps with us. He's also a fan, and he and I were chit-chatting about it one day, and he said that Pete and Pete is, if David Lynch did a kid's show, that's what this would be.
Twin Peaks for kids.
That's a good interpretation.
Yeah. He said Twin Peaks without the murder. That's what the show is.
It's the town next to Twin Peaks that it kind of feeds off the weirdness a little bit.
A little bit of carryover.
Yeah, a little bit of carryover in it.
Okay, so for all of you Slimesters, for our elimination bracket, something just didn't feel right to me about having one bracket that has all the citizens of Wellsville in it, because like you're putting Artie up against Endless Mike. Yes, that doesn't feel right, because they're two very different separate classes of category, I guess you could say. So we have three separate brackets. I will say not every single character is in these brackets, because oh my gosh, that would be way too much. And several of them are just one note jokes. This guy he quacks. And that was it. Some great characters, great gags, but not everybody is going to be included in the bracket. But I will say that we're going to have three separate brackets. The Wrigleys, the main Wrigley family, and Ellen are not eligible. This is all secondary characters. Some of them you probably see for one or two episodes, but many of these you'll see throughout several. The three categories are, we have school staff bracket, more specifically good teachers. So we'll go with that. Friends and family bracket, and also the bullies/antagonists bracket, because some of those do have teachers or a principal. I will also say I have like an odd number for two of these brackets. So automatically, two of these characters are going to advance to round two. And then round two after that, it's going to be even all the way through. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm excited. So we are going to get started with our friends and family bracket. And our first two that we're going to discuss are the ice cream givers. We have Mr. Tastee and Bob Oppenheimer.
Well, we know that Bob Oppenheimer is creator of the Orange Lazarus, which is one of the most addictive and powerful orange beverages served in the summertime of Wellsville. It has the power to corrupt, much like Ultimate Power itself. And then we have Mr. Tastee, who, their Blue Tornado Pop, entire episode dedicated to who is Mr. Tastee and where's Mr. Tastee go and who are his friends. Mr. Tastee's in so many episodes. Unfortunately, Bob Oppenheimer really only gets one episode. I can't remember if I see him in the background of any other episodes, because he's really only at the baseball diamond in Wellsville. So that's those are the generalities of those characters.
Clay, if you had to pick, well, we do have to pick. So between these two characters, who do you vote for to advance to the next round?
As much as I love the Lazarus plot line, within that baseball episode, and the fact that each one has a biblical reference to it, which is genius. Again, absolute genius, something David Lynch would do, but in a
Right.
children's show. You got to give props to Mr. Tastee for really bringing hope to the kids, and then also going away on his own adventure to find himself that we never really see, but then also kind of commenting like he's going to be back, because summer's going to be back, and where there's summer there's Mr. Tastee. So I'm going to have to go with Mr. Tastee on that.
I think the answer is clear. You got to go Mr. Tastee. As much as I love an Orange Lazarus, character-wise, I think Bob Oppenheimer's a little too dangerous. He doesn't seem to have control of his Orange Lazarus, like Mr. Tastee does of the
But
Blue
it wasn't
Tornado
even
Pup.
on. It wasn't even on the menu. Nobody should know that it even exists, Jordy.
It shouldn't even be known. Yet there it is, perfectly ready to be made within a machine coming out.
And I love the fact that his last name was Oppenheimer, and I had no idea the significance of that name until I became an adult.
Right.
That is brilliant. But Mr. Tastee, yes, he advances. I was going to vote Mr. Tastee as well. I mean,
I couldn't tell why. Is there a hint?
The
He's
story
looking
that
over your
Bob...
shoulder now, and that's
Yes. I'm very cool. It's cool back here. But no, one, Mr. Tastee is just iconic. He's one of those characters that everyone recognizes after they've seen him. And he's a character that just makes you smile. Bob has a really cool story, but Mr. Tastee, there's something relatable to his character, especially how much he just... It's never ew, which I really appreciate. He's... Because a lot of times you get these kids wanting to have a friendship with an adult in TV shows, and sometimes it just comes off really, really awkward and weird.
Yeah.
And I don't think so. It's not that way. He genuinely loves kids, and he just wants to give him a good summer. But he's also incredibly lonely, and he's trying to find his place in the world, and that's something I didn't relate to as a kid, but I came to appreciate far more as an adult, especially being somebody who teaches children. It's like, this is right up my alley. So Mr. Tastee, for sure.
That episode hits differently when you're an adult. Absolutely hits you differently as an adult, which I think, again, a lot of these episodes will hit differently. If you watch them as a kid, you remember little bits and pieces. You watch them as an adult and you're like, oh my gosh, like this basically explains my entire existence. Like that's why I think this way. Okay, that makes sense now.
All right, so for that, Mr. Tastee advances to round 2. Our next pair that we're looking at is Frank the Crossing Guard and Inspector 34.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Oh gosh, Frank the Crossing Guard was basically one of those characters that pops up very randomly, but also serves a purpose, like when needed, And I think that's what's kind of nice about that character. But then on the other hand, you have Inspector 34, which really only appears in one episode, but is probably, in my mind, one of those most bizarre episodes. An episode dedicated to an underwear inspector and finding out who he is. Who comes up with that? Why do they put it on TV? I don't know why, but I'm glad they did.
I love the fact that whole episode is about achieving perfection.
Yes.
Which, that's their David Lynch way of going about doing that, of course. But all the way down to eating barbecue chicken,
yes,
and not getting messy at all, and
no
stacking
drops.
the bones, and
yes. No
which I think I remember doing as a kid after watching that, was like, oh, if I could get anything on me, like it won't be perfect and stuff. So it's kind of one of those like little things. Oh gosh, yeah.
But also Frank, the first time we see Frank, he's smoking.
Yes, I was going to mention he's one of the only Nickelodeon characters to smoke a cigarette on screen.
Yeah. And
That's
it was
impressive.
And it was New Year's. So he was like, I'm going to quit for New Year's. This is the last one, I swear. Which I guess it really was, because we never see him smoke for the rest of the series.
He stuck to it.
He stuck it out. No, good for him.
But Frank was always there to watch after the kids. And even he and Little Pete, he's one of the few adults that Little Pete actually finds time and respect for on more than one occasion. Most of the adults little Pete just doesn't really care for, or he sticks it to them in some way. But Frank is actually there, and he was there for Halloweeny. He was there
Mm-hmm.
for the call. Like the street was so hot and kids were sticking to it, and he was trying to save them from it.
Yeah.
And he tosses the stop sign, and so that way little Pete could walk across it and jump onto the car.
Yeah. I love how he has the this crossing guard code, and there's this whole secret standards and codes of the crossing guard, and he's always like, "Oh, I failed, or I can't fail the crossing guard code. I take an oath as a crossing guard." Oh man. Yeah, Frank is a great character. It's hard to say, but I would have to go with crossing guard Frank, just because he's so much more pivotal in the changing of Pete. Even though Inspector 34 is a big part. I mean, little Pete almost becomes a clean freak during that period
Yes,
of time. He
very,
kind of
very close to it.
changes his entire personality. So I know that's a big pivotal moment, but like you said, Alex, he's there for a lot more moments later on, especially in Halloweeny and stuff, where he offers a word of advice to little Pete, sometimes when he needs it the most, when he's on his solo running away type deal that he does pretty often. So yeah, I'm gonna go with crossing guard.
You might have to correct me if I am wrong on this, but is he also the same crossing guard that when Pete loses his lizard,
It is.
he marks off the little area for the lizard and stops traffic? I'm gonna have to go with that. That was a moment that I think kind of won me over as a character, that he would kind of go above and beyond for his little friend.
Yeah. There is something truly special about Frank. He takes his job seriously, but he is there to look after people, and I really appreciate, like, he's a police officer, but he's not. But he takes that job that seriously, no matter who it is, and even if it's an animal. I agree. It's got to be Frank the Crossing Guard. This is a bit heavy-handed. It's this next pairing. We have all of the Nightcrawlers, which was Clem, Natasha, Mort, Purvis, Libby, and Pink Eye against Teddy Forzman. Excelente. The both of these sets of characters are in throughout the entire series. You don't really see all of the Nightcrawlers all that much, but you do see them several times in the background. Most of these characters don't play a major part within Little Pete's story. Clem, I think, of all of these, is the one who shows up the most. Like, Clem was actually part of the band, the Blowholes. For the most part, they're mostly background characters. Whereas Teddy started as a background character, but because he's such a sweet, innocent, gosh darn lovable guy, that he gets so much more airtime. It might be really awful to say, for those of you who know Splat Attack, but I feel like Manny is like Teddy. It's hard not to like him. And he makes you smile, and especially all the time. So, like, what, you didn't know that? And excelente, all these different things. Um, I love the Nightcrawlers. I have a soft spot for Teddy, but so you guys already know where I'm leaning. Jordy, how do you feel about these two?
I mean, yeah, the Nightcrawlers, it's a great episode. It's really cool to have kind of like a Stand By Me type episode with little Pete, where they're going out and they're trying to, kind of like coming of age, even though every episode is sort of a coming of age story. But yeah, they don't have like as big of a lasting impact through the series as Teddy. Whereas, I mean, especially the episode where Teddy comes to stay with the Wrigleys, the whole misunderstanding at the end where he thinks, it's something else, and why they want him to, like, he leaves for another reason. They think they've offended him in the end. But yeah, he's a great character, and he may be a little bit frustrating to deal with sometimes with his lack of awareness of the situation. But Teddy's a great character. He's super earnest, and he's a great friend to Pete. He's always there for him. So I'm going Teddy.
I'm gonna be a Nightcrawler forever. I'll just kind of be the odd man out with this one and say, Nightcrawlers. They kind of felt like those characters that were gonna be one off, but they had those moments of, oh, the girl that was holding her eyes open so that way she would stay awake. The
Yeah,
girl would be staring at the
the
sun and
sun.
things like that. Clem, I think was Clem. He grew the beard,
Mhm.
like the
Yeah.
little child growing a beard. Again, a weird situation. But I'll say Nightcrawlers.
All the love to Nightcrawlers, but Teddy is moving forward. For our next pairing, we have James Mecklenberg and Grandpa Wrigley.
Oh gosh. So James Mecklenberg, that's Nona's father. And we know Nona is the great friend of little Pete. The first episode is Halloweeny, I believe. Iggy Pop being in a kids even that's what really adds to this whole Twin Peaks David Lynch type thing when you have people like Iggy Pop just showing up playing somebody's, I guess, quote unquote pop. So gosh, and there's all sorts of funny jokes that they throw in with him. It's like you stooges. Gosh, so he's always fun when he shows up. Is he the world's best actor? No, but I think it starts to he gets better at the role as the time goes on, and he does feel like a Wellsville character in his
Yeah,
own weird
that's
way.
that's the thing. All the characters are so oddball and extreme that Iggy Pop fits right in with it.
Like a glove. Almost like you wouldn't even imagine that this man had a completely separate life
Exactly.
as this famous musician known for doing this grunge, gritty style music. And he's on a kid show on Nickelodeon working with Michelle Trachtenberg. Like it kind of blows your mind when you think about stuff like that.
When he's yelling at kids for smashing pumpkins, it's real funny. Gosh, yes. And he does. He fits well. And he does have a level of earnestness to him that he delivers, especially with the father-daughter dance. I do find that funny. And I don't know much about the relationships he has with his kids, but I imagine that there is some level of relatability, going through a whole life of being, like a young rock star and then being a parent at the end of all of that and having to be like, trying to be cool to your kids, right? Like you could be the biggest pop star in the world, rock star, and still be not cool to your kid. They'll still find you embarrassing. So yeah, I really like him. And then the other character is Grandpa Wrigley, I believe. Gosh, he shows up in When Pete's Collide. Grandpa Wrigley, not the most standout character in my memory. um
Well, his whole thing, his family couldn't hear a dump truck driving through a nitroglycerin plant.
oh yes, okay, yeah, now you jog my memory. Yeah.
No, that whole episode was very much about the passing down of the bowling ball, Blue Thunder, Rolling Thunder, and how it was quite literally driving the family apart because it has powers and it must be passed down. And it was very much a father-son story, which was kind of adorable. I mean, they don't really do a whole lot of father-son stories. There's a lot of father-son moments, but not really
Mhm.
father-son stories, especially with their dad and grandpa. This is the only episode that we have with grandpa, and I think the story is adorable, especially the fact that he had to teach Artie how to properly hurl the bowling ball at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And let go.
I love it.
What are your thoughts, Clay?
So it's William Hickey that plays Grandpa Wrigley, right? So, famous for being on National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I love that actor in any role that he does when he pops up, even as a one-off character. He's great. Um, but, Nona's father. I love the episode, the dance episode, where Nona doesn't want to dance with her dad. She's embarrassed by him, and then he plays this like love song, like to his kid, and it's kind of this sweet moment. She's super embarrassed. I feel like every kid feels that way sometimes with their parents. So it was kind of interesting to see that, like you said, having it be Iggy Pop, who's really cool,
Yeah.
but she's embarrassed by her dad.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really kind of like a great moment or a great episode for them. But yeah, I'll go with him. I'm gonna go with Iggy, you know?
Yeah. I'm going the same. I mean, James Mecklenberg, Iggy Pop, one of the Three Stooges. Yeah, he's great. I love him. So I'm going James.
I was going to say him as well. I also hear, that scientist from Nightmare Before Christmas with Grandpa Wrigley, but it's got to be Iggy Pop.
Sally. Yeah, it's that shrill old man voice.
Yes, yeah.
Our next pairing, and it is a pairing. It is 2 versus 2 for this one. We have Wayne Pardue and Monica Purling against Metermen Mel and Ray. Wayne and Monica are both Little Pete's friends. Monica, we see a bit more. Let me rephrase. Yeah, we do see her a bit more, but she makes more an appearance in season 2, but not as prominent as Nona is. But in the 3rd season, with Artie gone, they really hit Nona and Wayne and Monica as part of Little Pete's posse. And Monica was always the Krebs Star Girl Scout equivalent, and Wayne was very much. I don't want to say he was the worrywart. He wasn't quite Chucky Finster, but there was an element of that. But also, he's there to support his friends constantly, and the gross things are cool too. So he's like the cooler Chucky. Meter Men, Mel and Ray both again had a strong relationship with Little Pete. Both of them were only in one episode. Meter Man Mel was part of the Blowholes. Played I think it was rhythm guitar or lead guitar. Ray was there for when on sick day. Ray shows up and is all about and in full support of what Little Pete is doing and helps him out. So he's got some pretty cool side characters just for this one episodes. Jordy, what are your thoughts on which one should advance?
It's a tough one. I like Little Pete's friends, especially like we talked about season 3. They take a lot more prominent of a role after Artie moves on. But the Metermen are, I feel like, if when you think about Pete and Pete, you think about characters like the Metermen that just are like these strange, like citizen characters that, like, almost kind of like the Simpsons, where they pop in every once in a while or sometimes only once, right? But they occupy the town, and I forget, I think it's Ray is the one that sees the future when he stares into the meter dial, right? So there's like this weird aspect of like kind of like they're a little bit more than just metermen. Maybe they've maybe something about being a meterman in Wellsville gives you some extra ability to see the future.
The electricity
Yeah, exactly. Something it's like the
gives you
damn
a little
electricity
extra.
mixed with the meter somehow turns into being able to see the future. So yeah, I really like that aspect. I don't know why. It adds this kind of cool thing that I think Pete and Pete is just really known for, which is having these really unique, strange characters that pop up. So I'm gonna give it to the Beaterman just because Wayne and Monica, I they're his friends and they're great. They're great like side characters. Wayne has some funny moments, especially when he's cowarding away from stuff. And they're always like, Wayne. Monica, I love the whole Girl Scout character thing, especially it was very popular in the 90s. Everybody had like a Girl Scout type character trying to get all the badges or the patches. And Krebs Star is such an interesting company that they always have strange patches that you have to get, not normal Girl Scout patches. So I do find the joke of her always bringing up the patches super funny. But as far as characters go, I'm going to go with the Meterman.
I was kind of not in it for Wayne But I will go to the depths of, everywhere for Monica. And with Monica, I feel like she's prepared for anything. And she's kind of one of those strong, what could have been a trope of just a Girl Scout, they've made into a Krebs Star, based scout. And so, like you said, the patches were weird. The patches were different. She was always prepared for something. I feel like she had the bossy tone in a lot of episodes, and I just loved that character. Wayne, the only thing that ever sticks out of my head, I think, is like Danny Tamborelli screaming Wayne's name. Like it's just that Wayne, like that high pitched Wayne.
Yeah.
And the Meterman, I love the Meterman. I love the idea that they can see, or he can at least see, kind of into the future, and then ends up helping Pete in the future, I guess I would say, later on. But Monica, I'm gonna keep her in with Wayne. I guess can tag along with her.
I mean, doesn't he usually?
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's true.
we're gonna consider that he's a tag along.
He is absolutely tag along. Ooh, that makes me the tiebreaker. This is why we have 3 people. And I am also going to say Wayne and Monica. I do love the Meterman, but honestly, I forget about them until I see the episode again. I'm like, oh yeah, completely forgot about these 2 guys. But Wayne and Monica, I remember those 2. And I especially, like you were saying, with how she's prepared for anything. I love how she was also trying to find out who the urinator was in
Yes, the
Splashdown.
pool. Yeah.
She was determined to find out who that was, and succeeded, because she's awesome like
true.
that.
She got the patch.
So I'm gonna go with Wayne and Monica. So they go to round dos. Our last pairing for friends and family bracket is Phil Hickle and Bill Korn.
Oh, Phil Hickle, played by Steve Buscemi, is just a wonderful character. Loves his daughter Ellen, I believe. Like, again, you can always correct me, but Ellen, he loves his daughter. Steps in and basically is able to step in as a substitute teacher during her math classes whenever she drives the other teachers insane with her constant questioning of why, and that in itself, that episode is wonderful. And then you have Bill Korn, who, as cool as his sunglasses are that pop up and down, if you ever see the show, they pop up and down. That was the highlight of the 90s right there, being able to do that with your glasses, I guess. He is one of Pete's friends. He's in a couple of episodes. Nothing really stands out for me with this character. I totally, love the actor. I think he was great in what he did with it. All for me, I remember, is those glasses that went up and down. Phil Hickle, though, you can't go wrong with a great parent in this show.
I agree. Bill Korn, probably the one thing he's most noted for is being able to make Teddy laugh so hard that milk shoots out of his nose. Because he's always joking and being super sarcastic, but that's what he's most known for, and it's in like one episode. He does, again, make appearances down the line, but nothing nearly as memorable as Phil Hickle, in my opinion. So I'm also going to say Phil. But Jordy, what are your thoughts?
Wow, I mean, I'm a huge Steve Buscemi fan, so any opportunity to see him in anything, I wouldn't say he's like a chameleon of an actor, but he does have an interesting range, and I just the way he delivers lines, the way he is, especially as the character that he plays, just a suburban dad, sometimes the rival of the head of the Wrigley household. Yeah, he's just he's a fun character, and I guess he's kind of nerdy, but it doesn't really. I don't know. They kind of make him seem. I guess he's more of a businessman, the way they have him always dressing. Um, but he's also a substitute teacher. He's a teacher mainly, so I guess
he got multiple jobs in Wellsville.
Yeah, he must have multiple jobs. He dresses so nicely, especially for a teacher. So it's I don't know, maybe he's a professor outside of everything else he does. But yeah, he's a great character, and I just love Steve Buscemi. So I'm just gonna give it to him anyways because I love Steve Buscemi, and I love that it's one of the many great reasons I love Pete and Pete is that you have Iggy Pop living next to Steve Buscemi, and that's a crazy town to live in. Bill Korn, outside of being Big Pete's friend, doesn't really affect the larger story that much across 3 seasons. So, I mean, I'm glad that Big Pete has friends. Everybody needs to have friends, but I'm going with Phil Hickle here. So that's my choice.
All right, Phil Hickle goes to round 2. And I did say at the beginning of this bracket that I have 2 characters that are automatically going to advance to round 2, just so that way we have an even number. One of them, obviously, is going to be Artie, the strongest man in the world. But the other is going to be Nona Mecklenberg for 2 reasons. One, because it's Nona, and she's awesome. She absolutely does not deserve to be knocked out in round 1. And 2, especially with Michelle Trachtenberg's recent passing, it does not feel right for her to be knocked out in round 1. So I'm automatically having her go to round 2. So love you, Michelle. We miss you. Moving on to our second bracket, we're gonna segue to the next one. We're gonna start with bullies and antagonists. Probably my favorite topic.
Yes, some of the best characters.
So and this is going to be another one where I'm going to have 2 that are going to advance to round 2. I will go ahead and tell you who they are. One is Endless Mike, because it's Endless Mike.
Yeah,
It's Endless Mike.
And 2 is Principal Kent Schwinger, because it's Principal Kent Schwinger.
Yeah,
I don't care. I will fight anybody. Those 2 need to be in round 2. So that being said, we're going to take a look at the other ones, starting with our crew. Because we have 2 bully posses. We have one that was Open Face and his crew, which consisted of Milk Mustache, Ink Stain, Audi, Gravy Breath, and Butt Stripe. I love these names. I love the names they give everyone in the show. And the second crew was Pit Stain and Hairnet and Drawstring.
So they're both great like starter crews as far as like the bully gangs go in Wellsville. I know we ultimately know who becomes the best of the bullies. But it's something Open Face, like you're saying with the names, they just come up with such interesting names. And I always wondered when they did these like bully names, are they drawing from people that they knew, or do they just pick like a weird habit and then form the entire character around just a strange habit that somebody might have? I'm suspecting a little bit of both, but like the Milk Mustache character is so funny because you just always have somebody with a constant milk mustache. Is just very funny. I don't know why.
He would have fit right in the 90s with all those got milk ads.
Exactly.
Everywhere.
With Batman and everyone who had apparently been drinking lots of milk. A Pit Stain, for some reason, stands out as more memorable to me. I don't know if it's just because of the gimmick that he smells really bad, and it comes up a lot as like a comedy thing of like even his own group hates the way that he smells, and so when he falls onto them or like when they get stuck into a situation together, they're all like, oh my gosh, we don't want to be next to the leader of our own group. I kind of find that as a funny dynamic. So I'm gonna go with Pit Stain and crew just because I remember Pit Stain just a little bit more than I remember Open Face, even though I think Open Face is only in the 1 episode, right?
Yeah, he was only in Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yeah.
I am also going to go with Pit Stain because I can smell that character through the screen. You see him in different episodes, and it's like you can see like the brown, yellow, the grease, underneath the armpits, and it's like you can smell this character. Like that's why it's a great character, because it's like you remember it, and it's like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. Open Face is great, whatever. It's named after a sandwich, but Pit Stains, it says it right there. That guy is all pit stains, and you can smell him. So kudos to the makeup department or wardrobe for that, because they did a wonderful job of traumatizing.
Just a real
me.
smelly shirt.
Yeah.
I also just want to mention Open Face. I liked the moment when he was flying a kite with Ellen, and it was supposed to be like a pseudo sweet moment, but he was like, "Hey, you ever see Roadkill or something to that effect?" In this really nice moment.
Do you
Yeah.
want to go see a dead body?
Yeah. But yes, I also got to go with Pit Stain, and I like the fact that they actually gave Little Pete a recurring bully. He did have a fair share of bullies, but they didn't stick around. It's kind of hard to bully Little Pete. It really, really is. It's super simple to bully Big Pete. But I also do really like the fact that Pit Stain actually teamed up with Little Pete to, my enemy of my enemy is my friend, and they went after Principal Ken Schwinger at one point, and that whole thing was brilliant. That was a great episode. The last laugh. It's one of my favorites. But Pit Stain and his crew, they move on to round two. Now we have Hathead and Matt Uplinger. Hathead, for those of you who haven't seen the shorts, he was in a handful of the Pete and Pete shorts before it really started to become a series. And like the very first one with him, obviously was called Hathead, but the whole bit for that was a Big Pete talking about how he's really misunderstood. He's really a great guy, and as the camera pulls back, Hathead is sitting on top of him, like forcing him to say these really nice things. And they did the Halloween episode, the Halloween short before Halloweeny, which this short obviously inspired it, and Hathead was destroying all the pumpkins, and then Artie had a fight with him and pretty much made him lay down on the porch and shine a flashlight on his face to make him the jack-o'-lantern for Halloween. And Matt Uplinger, which if anyone has seen season 3, should know who this guy is. He's the lifeguard. I know they had other lifeguards in previous episodes, but this dude was the lifeguard. He's the one that you really just wanted to throat punch. He was a fantastic performer for this character. He's such a jerk. I hated this guy. He's one I love to hate. Clay, what are your thoughts on these two?
Hathead, we got to talk about the name, by the way, why he has the name. It's flat. It's like a part of his head is, misshapen or whatever because of like hats that he wears, and it just like flats them out. Like again, such a weird character concept, and they just kind of state the character's nickname right there, and it's like what it is. The lifeguard though, the actual like you said, that is the lifeguard. That is the head lifeguard. Like that's the lifeguard now that I think about like trope wise as like that's the lifeguard right there. That is who that is. So I think again, kudos to that actor, that character for kind of making that eternal notion now in my brain.
So you're voting for Matt Uplinger.
Yes, put it in there.
Yeah, I mean, so Hathead's funny. He's essentially the first bully of Little Pete. He's the first proto bully of the series. And like you said, he was in the Halloweeny, so he's sort of the first Pumpkinhead, but he's not as special as the lifeguard because Matt Uplinger, that episode is so great. Every summer I go back to watch that episode because that episode just captures what it was like to be at the pool, like the public pool as a kid, and especially like through the ages of like where you wanted to be younger, you want to go play in the pool and have fun, or you get older, you want to have like responsibility and seem cool, so you take on the lifeguard job. I love his lifeguard, his Krebstar lifeguard tower. I don't know why that thing is so cool to me. It's very cool though. I don't know what I would do with one if I had one, but I would love to have one. And he gets Big Pete addicted to coffee, which is funny. And then he is the urinator at the end of the episode. He's the one that pees in the pool.
Urinator. I had to do it.
Which is a crazy thing because if he's always been like the only lifeguard at the pool, it means he's just doing something that he has to clean up in the end. So I don't know.
A decade's worth of pee.
Exactly. It's I don't know who he's getting one over on, but at the end of the day, I guess that's his choice if he wants to do that and then in the pool that he has to protect. So I'm going with Matt Uplinger. He's a snooty, snide, stick it to Pete. He's not quite a bully, but he's like that coworker that likes to hold one over you or some upper classman that likes to just hold rank over you, and that's what he is. He's just that guy that likes to hold rank over those below him, take a little bit of power way too far type of character. There's a few of those in Pete and Pete, though, for sure.
All right, and I echo the same sentiment. Matt Uplinger for sure. So he goes on to round 2. All right, next we have Paper Cut and the Garbage Man. Clay, what are your thoughts there?
I got strong opinions on both of these characters. I think out of all the villains, these are the two that I am the strongest about. The Garbage Man is terrifying. Like, again, why is this on a children's program and why am I allowed to watch it? This skinny, like bald actor with like a Union hat from the Civil War, and it's just like, it's creepy. It's the things of Are You Afraid of the Dark? So why is it on this comedy? And then Paper Cut. Who doesn't hate paper cuts? And this villain is absolutely perfect because the worst thing that could happen to these kids right now is paper cuts, paper cuts, paper cuts. And just his arsenal of paper cut items they can throw at people or get people with. Like, those things are absolutely terrifying. And for a kid to be walking around with these things is absolutely crazy. But I'm gonna have to go with paper cut on this one because I still fear paper cuts more than I do right now the Garbage Man. So I'm just gonna go with that.
Oh man, yeah. Gosh, Paper Cut is such an interesting character. The idea that you could take something like giving someone a paper cut and extending it to like how many different ways could you do it? All these different tools. His entire being just becomes giving people paper cuts. And gosh, it's like he has like prison shank type paper cut tools. He's got like ninja style paper cut tools. He's got everything you could imagine.
It's like all made of aluminum foil. And like,
Yeah.
as a kid, that's terrifying. Something you get scared.
Exactly.
You're like, can I be around aluminum foil? Is that cool to be around?
He's truly like one of the most threatening bullies because the rest of them, they might like dunk your head in the toilet or throw you into something, but he's gonna cut you up a death by 1,000 cuts style. So yeah, Paper Cut is a scary bully. It's too bad he doesn't get featured more throughout the show. He really only shows up for the Farewell My Little Viking, and I don't think ever again, unless he was in a short that I'm forgetting about.
If there was ever a kid that needed an intervention, I think it's going to be Paper Cut.
Yeah, what's his home life like,
Do we need to talk about Paper Cut?
I think there's something wrong with the boy. But the Garbage Man, I mean, oh my gosh, the Garbage Man is truly a standout character to me. One, the concept was good enough to use him again for a feature length Nickelodeon movie. But yeah, he really is like this creepy horror movie Twin Peaks like character, a harbinger of the end of winter, the death of winter. Yeah, and I like how they represent him. He is like a horseman of the apocalypse kind of vibe. So I think I'm going to go with the Garbage Man. His performance, by the way, is just incredible. He does such a good job with that performance, and he gives it his all. I don't know if he also drove the garbage truck or if they had a stunt double drive the garbage truck for him, but if he drove that garbage truck too, props to the actor. But I'm going Garbage Man for this one.
I had actually mentioned Paper Cut previously on our top 5 Nickelodeon bullies, because, and I'm going to go with Paper Cut. Garbage Man is awful, and you guys know my love for Christmas, and anyone who wants to be the killer of Christmas will instantly be on my I hate you list. But Paper Cut changed the history of Pete and Pete. Garbage Man was a great foe for one episode, but because of Paper Cut, Little Pete matured without the assistance of Artie, and that was it. That was the catalyst. That was when Artie was like, okay, you don't need me anymore. I'm gonna go help somebody else. I love you. I'm proud of you. You can take care of yourself. You're your own Viking now. And without a villain like Paper Cut, no other bully in the history of Pete and Pete changed a character that profoundly. So for that reason, and I will always stick with paper cut. Now that may well, I don't want to say always because that may change throughout this, but I will always defend paper cut for that reason. Next, we have Mr. Porchman and both coaches, Coach Cornwallis and Beano Glatner. Jordy, do you recall any of these guys?
Oh gosh, I barely remember Mr. Porchman at all. I know I remember one of the coaches, especially from the wrestling episode, um, where Big Pete is getting better and better at wrestling, and the coach is getting more and more behind him and wanting him to be like the top wrestler. So, gosh, but yeah, I mean, yeah, the coaches didn't leave, I guess, a big impact on me through the show. And Mr. Porchman. Gosh, yeah, that one episode, I didn't watch it that often, so
How about you, Clay? Do you remember any of these three?
The only ones that I think like I can really even stay like stand out is, gosh, I'm gonna have to say Coach Cornwallis. Uh, and really that's I think the only thing that really stands out for me. Unfortunately, like I said, like I don't know why coaches don't stand out for me. Maybe it's, I wasn't into sports, who knows? Or whatever. So, just because I can remember that character a little bit, I'm just gonna put him in there. And anybody else, if you have anything else to say, hey, please throw it in there.
I think it's going to be pretty unanimous across the board. We're going to go for both of the coaches. Mr. Porchman, he was the science teacher on Space Geeks and Johnny Unitas, but he was just an arrogant teacher, and he loved the power that he had. He was one of those really annoying, snobby teachers, which was frustrating at the time, but he doesn't leave much of an impression in the grand scheme of things. And same Coach Cornwallis, he was on the Don't Tread on Pete. He was the dodgeball coach and was very much at little Pete's face. You're not worth anything, blah blah blah. And then Beano Gladder, he was getting upset with Ellen because she was side coaching and he was trying to kick her out of the gym, and she kept finding ways to show back up to side coach. And so that storyline, I think, sticks out more. But in the grand scheme of Pete and Pete villains and antagonists and so on, they're fairly low on the totem pole. But of these two fairly unforgettable characters, I think we're all sounding like we're going with the coaches.
Go with the
coaches it
coach.
is.
All right, next we have James Markle Jr. and Coach Ed Narrins.
Okay, so James Markle Jr. is kind of that traditional breaking up, like wants to be hooking up with Ellen in that episode, right? So he kind of plays that traditional type character, once again surrounded by a bunch of weird things happening around him. And then Coach Ed Narrins is he explains what the yellow Lazarus is, correct?
Yeah, the Orange Lazarus. Yeah.
Okay, the Orange Lazarus. See, there you go. So I'm gonna have to go with him because that seems more like a character than just being that traditional, like, oh, I'm splitting up these two people, which fit, with that kind of episode. But really, I think let's go with Coach Ed Narrins.
Oh, man, so I do remember James Markle Jr. He's that annoying kid in the class that like always wants to be like the head of the class, but in this instance it's band. So you're the best at band, and specifically you're the best at standing in a particular point on a field during a halftime show. So the idea that you're hyper proud and almost arrogant towards other people and have no humbleness, and he's like he knows what he's doing type thing. It's not like it's an innocent thing. It's very obvious that he's trying to get under Big Pete's skin, especially as the episode goes on. You can tell that he's trying to like annoy Pete by hanging out with Ellen. So yeah, outside of that though, yeah, not a super memorable character, but yeah, he's one of those characters you'd like to punch in the face, just because the way he acts. But Coach Ed Narris, or Narrins,
Yep.
gosh, man, he's a memorable character. The way they if anyone's Twin Peaks, it's him. The way he acts, the way he sits in his car and doesn't get out while they play the game, and he just like sits inside of his black car with the tinted windows while everyone practices. And if you mess up, he sticks the megaphone out the window and calls you over to the car. It's the guy is like he's the head of a top college team, but he's just like in charge of like the small town youth little league team. But he takes the game seriously. You can't fail under him, and he expects the best. Even to the point where he's I think the only person that can drink an orange Lazarus without getting brain freeze. And that's because he's already so cold on the inside that there's nothing to freeze on him. But yeah, he's a great, and he's not like redeemed or anything like that. He just stays evil and exits show. But
Did he
yeah,
ever actually coach from there, or was it just like, I'm here for this orange Lazarus whenever we go to a break right now?
I think he took the job just to get free drinks. That's
Just to
why
get
he
the free
doesn't like
drink.
it.
Sitting in the limo or the car with his suit and his hat, and
Yeah.
he's just ready. He's like, oh.
Air conditioning, orange Lazarus, get it as cold as possible. But yeah, he's a standout character to me. So I'm going Coach Ed Narrins because I love the orange Lazarus episode.
And correct me if I'm mistaken, but didn't the other kids start trying to drink an orange Lazarus after he pointed it out?
It was like it's kind of like the seed of evil, and he encourages his better players to drink an orange Lazarus.
Yeah,
And
that's what I thought. So not
yeah.
only is he just enjoying the orange Lazarus and being a jerk coach, he's giving the children controlled substances, essentially.
What's in that orange Lazarus?
The steroids.
So, yes, I am also going to say Coach Ed Narrins. And our last pairing for this bracket before we move on to the next, John McFlemp and Park Ranger Thorssen. John McFlemp. This dude, I never know this guy's name, the actor, but you know this guy. He's one of those guys, he's in everything and he always plays the same kind of character, and you always just can't stand this guy. I don't think I've ever seen anything where I liked his character. The guy does a good job, but he always is a jerk. But he was essentially the aluminum salesman that everyone was so frustrated with Artie. All the adults were frustrated with Artie, and they're trying to get him away from Little Pete. And he succeeded for a time in getting Artie to become civilized and become mature, and became a successful aluminum salesman. Which was distracting long enough for Paper Cut. Of course, he didn't know that, but for Paper Cut to go after Little Pete. So yeah, John McFlemp was messing with Artie already. That gets things from me. But Park Ranger Thorssen, he was the entire time just messing with their trip when they were in the park trying to fish on Golden Pete. And he would just scrutinize over everything that their dad would do. And that was it. He was just a thorn in the side. Eventually, by the end, is that hot lather? And then they just shave, and everything's cool after that. But he
Such a
was
great moment. Such a weird, great moment. Okay, so I didn't know the guy's name that broke up one of my favorite duos growing up. So it's nice to know the character's name is George McFlemp. Number one, he breaks apart, Artie and Pete. While that does allow Pete to grow up, it's hard to forgive someone that ever does something like that. I feel like the actor did a great job of playing a villain in a very weird kind of David Lynchian side storyline where he was trying to get Artie to be an aluminum salesman. So I guess that's the most normal thing the writers could think of, was being an aluminum salesman at the time. The park ranger, though, probably has one of the best quotes, in the entire series, which was, you got a license for that tattoo, son? When he's talking to Little Pete, and Little Pete gets to respond with reading wheat fungus lick. I'm like, that's great writing. That is wonderful writing. So I'm going to have to go with the park ranger on this one.
Oh man. So yeah, McFlemp. God, what a weird, funny character with the aluminum sails. And I feel like the commentary with the aluminum sails is like it's the most pointless thing you could think that somebody would show up to try to sell you. But like that's the point. Like salesmen are unrelenting. They'll always find a use case to try to sell you a product, even if you don't need it. And the way he sells aluminum to people is like people sell used cars, that typical kind of like, oh no, there's a million reasons why you would need aluminum. You could use aluminum for this. You could use so that joke. It is funny. I love the whole used carsman kind of style joke, salesman style joke. He is a big part of breaking up and changing Artie, which does eventually lead to the separation of little Pete and Artie, which is a huge pivotal moment in the series, especially. Things change pretty dramatically after that. But the I don't know, Park Ranger Thorssen, one particular line that cracks me up. I know he's mostly an antagonist for the episode, but the moments where they start to get more along, uh, uh, Big Pete's dad and him, it's I don't know. It's the moment when they're talking about he's like, oh, you got to protect the animals, the birds, the things, the little wriggly things on the ground, and he's like, oh well, I was trying to get old Bob, and he's like, old Bob. Oh, the rules are why didn't you say there are no rules when it comes to old Bob? I don't know that I love the whole weird fish, like giant fish in a pond type story. So because of that, and him being a park ranger, just like kind of helping, like I don't know, park rangers are particular, especially the older you get. The joke doesn't, I don't think, land as much when you're a kid as it does when you're an adult and you go to parks or national parks more often. You have to deal with park rangers. They do have a million rules, and it seems like you can't do anything without getting in trouble with the park ranger, I swear. So I will say that's probably the most accurate out of any character to a real life character that I've met is the park ranger character, because it does seem like they're always looking. If there are any park rangers listening, I don't mean to offend.
We love you. Thank you for doing your job. Thank you for protecting the bears.
Yes, protect the bears, keep the ground clean. I'm sorry. I attached a tarp to a tree. Yeah, so I'm going park ranger Thorssen on this one.
I will give some love to McFlemp for once, because that man does not get any love. So I'm going to give him some because dude messed with Artie, and I don't like when someone messes with Artie, but I'll give some love. But Park Ranger Thorssen is going to advance to the next round. And now we have our third bracket. And now this is going to go quicker, and everything's going to go quicker. So we'll do round one of the school staff bracket, and then we'll break for a commercial. So starting with Miss Fingerwood or Mrs. Beardsly.
Miss Fingerwood it starts out as the love interest of Big Pete, which is funny. I don't it's usually when they do the whole like, you're attracted to a teacher thing, they like try to go find like, the most over the top character to be the teacher, right?
Very, very sexualized.
In
yes.
the 90s, it was Pamela Anderson. You would just have
Exactly.
Pamela Anderson to be the sub.
Yeah,
and it'd be great.
exactly. And yeah, exactly. But they didn't go that angle for it, which I kind of respect, especially the older I get, because it is more realistic. To be like, your infatuations as a child aren't always based off of those types of things. It could be completely different why a kid would be interested at that age, right? So I think I do appreciate the way with that, and they really did make her an interesting character. The way, like, the things that Big Pete decides to fixate on, that he's interested in her on, are like the ways that she pronounces words specifically, and the way she writes at the chalkboard and stuff. So yeah, I mean, she's definitely a more memorable character because she shows up way more often than Miss Beardsley, which, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember what she did in Don't Tread on Pete that stands out.
It's a visual gag for her, actually. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. The varicose veins.
Yep, that's the one.
Were a highway.
Oh
or
yes,
a street.
yes, it was like a map. Yes.
Yeah. And older Pete noticed that whenever there was a change in the streets or a change in the highway, that her varicose veins would change. Again, a disgusting thing to include in a children's show. But then you see varicose veins in completely different light when
It's
you're
true, yeah.
is that a road right there? No, okay.
They built a new interstate.
But also, as far as the educator goes, she was a very, very strict history teacher. Not a bad history teacher, just strict. She had a very difficult history test that everyone was afraid to fail. And there was only one student, I think, who did fail. And he is now the janitor at the school. And he's not a very intelligent person. So he's become the equivalent of, oh no, I don't want to be that guy. So everyone's afraid to take her test, including Big Pete. And she's like, you're a smart student. You're a good student. I expect better from you. So she was more about strong education, where Miss Fingerwood was, but also she was part of the blowholes too. She did far more in the series. But as far as voting goes, I'm going to go with Miss Fingerwood. I appreciate what Miss Beardsley was doing, but Miss Fingerwood, which is a really unfortunate name, was a
They
far more.
knew.
They knew what they were doing.
They knew.
like that and blowholes. You know what you're doing. But she was a cooler character. Jordy, which one are you voting for?
I'm going Miss Fingerwood, more prominent character to me. So Miss Fingerwood, and she's nice. She's way nicer than Miss Beardsley.
Miss Fingerwood. I don't know what it is about that character. She's eccentric, she's lovable, she's kind. She thinks her mom is the number two, and I love the moment whenever she says to Mama, Mom, or something like that. And that actress, who's also, I believe, a musician as well, like absolutely nails that role. Like nails that role and nails that character. So I'm gonna have to go with Miss Fingerwood, which again, the name singing out loud, it does sound. Yeah, they knew.
All right, next pairing, we have Mr. Markle, who was the band teacher, and we have Mr. Slurm, who was the shop teacher. Clay, what do you remember about these two?
Oh, okay. So Day of the Dot, I really enjoy that episode. I know that it's kind of one of those more memorable ones. I wish that that character was more memorable as you know as the actual episode. I remember him being driven, him being determined. He wanted the best. He expected the best. He pushed the students. Kind of that classic teaching role. But of course, with the Pete and Pete weirdness, Mr. Slurm is straight out of a comic book, straight out of, a cartoon. The dude has attachments for his arm. He has a spatula at one time,
Yeah.
or it's something to kill a fly. He's got a little chalk thingy. Like, I've got to say that is one of those characters that I think again stuck with me, and I've not seen someone like that, and I hope to one day because I think it's such a ridiculous, thing, but the guy makes it work, He has his attachments ready to go. He has something for everything. So I'm gonna say Mr. Slurm for this round for me.
Oh man, these are two interesting teachers. So Mr. Markle, his whole thing is, the band teacher, but specifically he was always increasing the level of detail towards the actual thing they were writing with the students from the band. So every year he would step it up, and it was being more and more difficult what they were trying to write in a more complicated font. I think for Day of the Dot they were trying to do Helvetica, and Ellen was supposed to dot the I, hence the name Day of the Dot. And yeah, he had a little bit of a wanting things to be very specific, a little like anal retentive about what he wanted, but not nearly as intense as some other characters that have like that similar trait. He just kind of wanted them to do it right, which at the end of the day, when you're doing something like this, it is kind of important to have kids aligned. And I'm sure from like how Pete and Pete present stuff, right, it always seems like the adults are out to get the kids a lot of the time. and it's like this battle, right? But sometimes seeing it from the adult side as you get older, it's like imagine trying to get a class of a bunch of kids with band instruments to
Oh,
like spell out a word on a field.
In Helvetica
Exactly, yeah.
with a slight cursive askew on the
Yes. So it's like I could understand why someone trying to get a bunch of kids to do that might come off strict to the kids when they're just trying to achieve a very kind of difficult task. But yeah, Mr. Slurm, I mean, gosh, the shop teacher with a missing hand, which I think they mentioned he didn't lose it in shop. He lost it from a completely unrelated incident, which just makes it that much more funny that he has no hand and you think he would lose it from the saw. He's also kind of anal retentive, but I think with his is more as he expects more out of people, and he likes to push people to be better in a more earnest way, because by the end of the episode he has come to a level of respect with Big Pete. And maybe in the beginning it started off as a little bit of a rivalry or trying to get under each other's skin, but it did eventually blossom into like you can do things your own way as long as you find a way that works for you and you can still achieve the end. That's what matters. So I'm gonna go with Mr. Slurm because he is a redeemable character, and he does have more humanity and all the attachments on the hands. And for some reason, I don't know why, he always reminded me of Superintendent. Oh gosh, from The Simpsons. Skinner.
Skinner.
Yeah, exactly. He's always Skinner. What was his name?
The guy who is the superintendent, not the
Yeah,
principal.
exactly. The superintendent. I'm forgetting his name. Is it Palmer or something like that? I can't remember. But
I'm
yeah,
sure
he
a
always
Simpsons
reminds me of
fan will
him.
know immediately, and they'll be like,
Somebody
"You
in the
idiot.
Manny
comments
would know it.
Manny
It's
was
been on for
here.
35 years. How do you not know?"
Is it Chambers?
You're
Chalmers?
close. That
I'm
sounds
getting
close.
Chalmers, whatever. All right. I have the internet at my disposal. I'm just not using it right now. But yes, he always reminded me of him. So long story short, Mr. Slurm is my choice.
Mr. Slurm also shows up as the student driver teacher in the season 3. It's not the same actor, which is unfortunate because I love the way the performer on Tool and Die portrayed that character, because the lines were always so dry and they were so good. Calm down, Mr. Wrigley, calm down. Are you comfortable? I love Mr. Slurm. Mr. Markle, I've been that teacher. I would teach drama to some of the kids. I know Clay has been there having to teach kids. I totally understand I'm dedicated to getting this to happen, but you kids are getting on my nerves right now.
Yeah.
But I love you guys. You got to stop playing. It's time to get to work. Which I think that's super, super relatable. But Mr. Slurm is my pick. I absolutely love that throughout the episode, everyone has these fantastic ideas of what the special project is that he's having somebody make. And Big Pete hates the idea of shop. He thinks this is stupid. And he just wants to get his C and go on. And that's why Mr. Slurm pulls him in to make him pick things. Here's the measurements, here's what you're going to make. And it was just turned out to be an air conditioner. And Pete was so frustrated and then holds up his claw and says, what I don't like is whenever I have a student who has no idea what he has at his disposal and hasn't even begin to understand the full use of its power until it's taken away at a very early age. You have capability to do so much more, but if you're happy with your C, then be happy with your C and get out of my shop. And I love that. Tool and Die is my favorite Pete and Pete episode.
Few moments that are just have like, they were goofy. They were goofy a lot. There was a lot of goofy moments, but the show also has those wonderful, dramatic, serious moments. Especially, with the, Goodbye My Viking. That's a heart-wrenching episode, especially when you become so attached to the characters. But just moments like that, like Alex is talking about, like that's such a wonderful moment that actor got to do on such a weird kids show. But it's memorable. It's so memorable.
It's a great moment. He's my favorite character, and that is my favorite episode. I love that episode. We have two more, and then we'll see how things pare down. So now we have both bus drivers. I think we know where this is going to go.
Yeah, it
But-
doesn't seem fair, but
But we have bus driver Stu Benedict and his love, bus driver Sally Knorp.
Knorp.
Knorp. Jordy, thoughts?
Oh my gosh. I mean, Stu Benedict is champion character of the show. I mean, when you think about standout characters from Pete and Pete, bus drivers do. I mean, the actor performed so intensely with the role. Like he would always give it 100%. Nothing was off the table, and so relatable in so many ways. When he's waiting in the bus for the kids, the way he just like swings around on the seats and stuff like that, and the way the bus is like they imply like he owns the bus and the bus is part of him, and like it's all his own stuff, and like he basically lives on the bus from as far as you can tell. Like it's so funny. It is very much like the child's interpretation of a bus driver. Like you're like, well, I always see you on the bus, so you must only, do everything with the bus. So him just like going and driving kids around when he's sad and like taking forever to take kids home, like being a bus driver is sometimes secondary to him just like being friends with them, which I really do like. In the way he's always supporting Pete, like the episode where little Pete's trying to, I think sick day, where he's trying to sneak back to the school to check in to see how everyone's doing at the school, and bus driver Stu's like honking the horn and talking over the like megaphone like, hey Pete. And I don't know, I love his character. He's great personality. He's a great shoulder to cry on or lean on for both little and big Pete. But he does have his moments where he can be kind of like out there and lose track of the kind of person he is, and like especially when he gets sad over the breakup, he kind of becomes a whole other person, and they have to get him back from that, but they do get him back. So and then there's Sally, which I mean there's very little that's really done with Sally. I mean she's like, I think she's in the call for a little bit, and then obviously she's mentioned during the breakup, and then Dave the Dot. Just not that much of a standout character, but she's really nice and she's really sweet. And I'm glad that her and bus driver Stu can really relate to buses and taking care of buses, and their entire relationship is based around buses. So I'm gonna go Stu for this one.
I will go ahead and say that Ellen Cleghorn is absolutely hilarious. She is a comedic legend. She was on Saturday Night Live, and she has continued to have a wonderful career. But Damian Young as Stu Benedict, that is one of those characters that I think you could put on television today and it would still work.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody could do it besides Damien did, back then. I remember lots of scenes of him yelling, and like you
Yeah.
basically see the full scope of his teeth. You see the vein popping out in his head. And the episode where it's him and they've broken up, and he's driving the kids around to all the
Yep.
places that they used to go to and stuff, and it's nighttime now. It's like 6 hours after school's out, and he's still driving them around to different places around town. But I absolutely love Ellen Cleghorn as that character. I wish they would have done more with it on the show, but obviously with only 3 seasons, you can only do so much with that. So I'm going to have to throw, my hat, with Stu for this one.
And just, I have nothing else to add other than the fact that I'm also voting for Stu. And our final two for this bracket is our two, I don't want to say janitors, but they're similar in nature. Mr. Beverly and Cecil Tucker, who was the janitor that failed Mrs. Beardsly's test.
Mr. Beverly all the way. I feel like that man has such a great story arc with the octopus or the squid that he is in love with, or not in love with, but that he loves. And when it dies, you really feel for him. But then he's also in love with Mrs. Fingerwood, who has her own little eccentric things about her. I don't know. I just really like that character in the show. I think he fits really well with the other characters as well, and I think that actor does a great job of playing him.
I'm gonna go Mr. Beverly as well. There's just more to him as a character. And yeah, his pairing with Miss Fingerwood in the end, it does kind of give kind of like this closure to like the idea that like little Pete or Big Pete, excuse me, having this crush on her, and obviously it's never gonna work out. So the idea that like there is some sort of pairing that works for Miss Fingerwood, and it's with Mr. Beverly. I do like that, and yeah, the idea of this guy who is kind of his emotions are shown through his work as a line painter is cool. So, and I guess Cecil Tucker, outside of being like a one-off joke about don't end up like that guy, which don't end up like that guy because he just probably lost this round.
Yeah, don't be
You
like
never want to be that character where you're the one that everyone's like, don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, he is going to lose round one for sure. But yeah, he needs some. You know what? I'll give him some love. I'll vote for him just so that way somebody's in his corner. Even though I absolutely would choose Mr. Beverly, but I'm going to give him some love. But we are going to take a break. We went through all these characters, and the remaining episode is going to go considerably faster now that we don't have to introduce everyone again. So stick around for a little bit, see what's going on in the world of Splat Attack, and we'll see how the March Madness competition bracket ends. So stick around.
Stick 'em up. You get it? I'm on a trampoline. I'll be back with more Splat Attack. Wish the camera would focus on me, but I'm moving.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Splat Attack. If you are enjoying this episode, please hit the like button, subscribe, make sure to hit that notification bell. If you are listening on a podcast app, please leave us a review. These small actions from you have a big impact on us.
It's good to hang out with friends and talk old school nostalgia, which is exactly what we do over on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/splatattack to gain access to bonus minisodes every Friday, slime streams, which are live watch parties twice a month, and opportunities to submit questions to our celebrity guest, and more. Join Gakoids over at patreon.com/splatattack.
We don't have Little Pete's iconic hat, but we do have some pretty cool custom shirts for you over on our Bonfire store. Go to bonfire.com/store/Splatattack store with hyphens in between. We have shirts with our logo as well as other 90s Nickelodeon inspired designs. We have different styles of shirts as well as different colors to choose from. Get your customized shirt on demand at bonfire.com/store/Splatattack store with hyphens in between.
Join us next time, Slimesters, as we take a deep dive into the past to look at what celebrities were on Nickelodeon before they became famous. That's right, we'll be checking out before they were stars. You will only find the retrorific action here on Splat Attack.
Still out of focus, but we're back with more Splat Attack. No!
Welcome back, all of you Slimesters. Did you see that? I waved inward instead of outward. I feel so accomplished. It's something different, but yet if you're listening, you didn't see it. So why don't you go watch on YouTube so you can see the opposite wave? that'll be my
wax off.
That'll be my Pete and Pete name, opposite wave. So we are going into round 2 for all of these. We're going to pick back up with friends and family. Now that we know who all the characters are, we shouldn't have to explain all these characters that much anymore. For round 2, for friends and family, we are starting with Mr. Tastee and Frank the Crossing Guard. I think some of these are going to start to get a little tough right out the gate.
Controversial picks right here.
Yeah.
I am going to have to go with Mr. Tastee for this round. I think that Mr. Tastee represents summer childhood, sounding like a politician right now, but I think that he
For the kids.
represents happiness amongst the children. And without him, we would not have that iconic snow, that iconic right behind you, right there.
Yeah.
Ice cream cone head. that has been the inspiration for a lot of other people to kind of take that and use it for their things. I think Mr. Tastee. Let's go with that.
This is a tough one. I mean, these are two big characters that are pretty big impacts on the main characters' lives. But Mr. Tastee, as far as memorable characters go, is gonna have to rank higher for me. It might just be because his head's a giant ice cream, and that makes it a little bit easier to remember him. But I somewhere, if I'm pointing the right way, I got a little Mr. Tastee
A
here.
little tasty.
So I'm going for Mr. Tastee for this one. Those blue tornado pops, man. They're too good. Sorry, Frank.
I am actually going to vote for Frank. I love Mr. Tastee, but I love you guys know me. I'm all about wanting to be there for kids, and I felt like yes, Mr. Tastee was there for kids. I think Frank was there more for the kids because he was in their neighborhood and was there to protect them as often as he could, and he took that very seriously, and I respect that, and I love that they had a character that was like that and also could go toe to toe with Little Pete. So I love Frank, and I will stand by him, but Mr. Tastee moves on to the next round.
All right.
Next we have Teddy Forzman, and for the first time, Teddy, you might be in trouble. We have Artie. Artie is one of those we haven't spoken about yet. Clay, what are your thoughts on Artie before we make our decision?
I could write an entire like prose about Artie and my love for that man and just what that character means. As much as I love the actor that plays Teddy, I think Artie is an icon of the early 90s, of the early early Nickelodeon eras, and really just kind of sets the tone for the whole show. You have this adult man played by Toby Huss, who is absolutely amazing. And he is hanging out with all these kids, and he's running around in this tight outfit, yelling "pipe" and and hanging on field goals. I mean, he is like the personification of an imaginary friend. And I think that is why that character really kind of resonates with a lot of young people, like even now, because he's so energetic, he's so lovable, he's so laughable. His only flaw is that he left the show, and that's it.
Oh gosh, I mean Artie is Artie. He's one of the most important characters of the whole show. I'd argue to say the show wouldn't be the same way it is without Artie. So the performance is great. The energy, I mean, geez, the guy must have been so sore every day after work because he was climbing trees, climbing rooftops, wrestling bowling balls, everything. In such an interesting character. I mean, the way, I don't know how much of this was created by, the creators of the show versus, him performing it, but the way he talked, down to the way to the flexing and like this child's interpretation of almost like a superhero almost, but like in this very unique way. And he was like Little Pete's superhero. And I know a lot of people would think that, maybe he was an imaginary friend, but he wasn't. He was a very real person. And
yeah, the adults interacted with him.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's a whole, My Little Viking acknowledging him getting a job and everything. So, yeah, Artie is a very important character to the show and he's the counterpart to Little Pete. That's all I can think. And, that's what makes season 3 a little bit more somber, is the lack of presence of Artie. Even though it's still a good season, but without Artie,
it's a bittersweet season. It has, kind of oh yeah, I do miss Artie. It's like Michael Scott leaving, The Office, but except it's not a man running around in a leotard or a tight outfit.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I'm sorry, Teddy. It's not going to be excelente for you, but I'm voting Artie.
Vote him out just because of that phrase at this point.
What, you don't know that?
Man.
Yeah.
You don't know that?
You don't know
that? And I am assuming the same for you, Clay. You're voting for Artie.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And I am also voting for Artie. Love you, Teddy, but you are not the strongest man in the world. Moving on, we have James Mecklenberg, and Wayne and Monica.
I'm gonna go with James at this point. I absolutely love Monica Purling on there, but if I'm gonna have to go with anybody, it's gonna have to definitely be Nona's father at right now. Like I said, I just love the episode where they go to a dance and he wants to dance with her. And again, your dad is Iggy Pop. Just dance with them.
I'm going James as well. I mean, it's Iggy Pop, and I mean, it's too good. It's too good to have Iggy Pop in a show, and it's not just like a little tiny cameo in and out. He's there for the show. He's a real character of the show. So as much as I Wayne and Monica have their interest, especially more Monica than Wayne have their interesting traits. I'm gonna have to go with my man Iggy, James Mecklenburg.
And I echo the same sentiment. I love Monica especially, but as soon as Iggy pops on the screen, you can't help but not smile. You've got to. It's it's just so cool and it's adorable, and that whole episode is really sweet. All right, so our last pairing for this bracket is Phil Hickle and Nona Mecklenberg, who we've not spoken about yet. Jordy, what are your thoughts on Nona?
Oh gosh, I mean, she's very much like a good counterpart, at least like same age, on like Little Pete. She's like it throughout the show. It's very hard to find people that can match Little Pete's energy, and like meet him toe to toe. And if anybody can meet him toe to toe on anything, I think it is Nona. She is his better half in many ways. And like the way they meet, right there, she's on the edge of like she doesn't feel like she has any friends. She just moved into town and she already wants to leave because she's not liking it. Little Pete is trying to escape out of his house, right, because he's been grounded, and they run into each other in a very unlikely circumstance. And I don't know, I think that she is a great counterpart to Little Pete, and the way that their friendship is mutually beneficial in the way that like it's not just like, oh, Little Pete got a friend, but she also needed a friend and got a friend out of Little Pete. And you know I don't know how things would have played out if they met in a different way in the show, but the way that they did end up meeting like through the ground first, and then eventually being able to see each other in the end, it does make for a cool episode, like finally finding that friend that you've always been looking for, kind of thing. So uh, I like Nona. I think she's a great character.
If anybody's gonna knock Steve Buscemi off the list right now, it's gonna be Nona. I mean, you have the absolute OG Nickelodeon movie star Michelle Trachtenberg playing the role. The person that basically set out and did, Harriet the Spy. But the fact that Nona almost becomes not a replacement, because you can never replace, Artie, but she becomes kind of that replacement, and that, that friend that's around longer than the other friends, or around more than the other friends. I will throw it for Nona right now. The fact that she didn't actually need the cast, that she just liked the feel of the itch and she liked to scratch it. Like, what? But okay, because it fits within that universe. I totally love it. So yeah, I'm gonna throw it in for the original movie star for the Nickelodeon movies right there, Michelle Trachtenberg's Nona.
Yeah. I'm going Nona as well. Michelle Trachtenberg did a great job, like you said. She was Harriet the Spy. She was one of like the Nickelodeon movie star, and she helped set off so much for what would be Nickelodeon unique. So yeah, I'm giving it to her. She did a great job.
I am also going to say Nona, and not to mention the fact that on um, oh gosh, I can't think of the name of the episode. It was the not Valentine's Day Massacre, but the other one where it was they were all getting lovesick. We did an episode on it, and I can't think of for the life of me what it was. But Little Pete fell in love with the mail carrier, and Nona had to snap him out of it. The episode very much is from her perspective, which is a very, very rare thing for it. And I think the only episode to be more from her perspective than either of the Pete's. and she saved the day in that episode. If anyone could ever save little Pete, it would be Nona. All right, so moving on to bullies and antagonists, we have Pit Stain and his crew against Matt Uplinger. I will go ahead and cast my vote. I'm going to say Matt because there is nothing redeemable about his character. There are moments that I actually enjoy Pit Stain's character. He's gross, he's nasty, he's a jerk. But in that same episode, like he has a suntan of a heart on his chest for Nona. He actually worked with Pete a couple of times. There is nothing redeemable about Matt. I love to hate that guy, so he gets my vote. Clay, who do you vote for?
I worked as a lifeguard for a number of years, and never did I have a chair as cool as Matt's. And so I'm going to have to go with Pit Stain still on this one, because that is still one of the grossest, I think, characters that we've seen in a young kids television show.
Yes, that makes me the tiebreaker. I'm going to go with Matt Uplinger just because, as far as bully lifeguards go, he is like the number one in my mind that I think of when I think of a bully lifeguard. As far as like a smelly regular bully goes, I think I have a large option to choose from. As far as Nickelodeon shows, that character kind of existed in multiple shows. But as far as like this jerk lifeguards go, Matt Uplinger really stands out. So going Matt.
All right, Matt Linger goes on to the next round. All right, this one for me is going to be tough. It might be super easy for you guys, I don't know. But we are going to be looking at Paper Cut and Endless Mike Hellstorm, who we have not spoken on really just yet. Jordy, what are your thoughts on Endless Mike?
Endless Mike is the best bully of the entire series, and I mean that's probably giving away who I'm going to vote for, but he is the best of the whole series. The way he performs being a bully, the way he gets under Pete's skin, the way he ties back to larger events in the neighborhood. Like he's also part of the Pumpkin Smashers. He's like constant, but then he has weird moments where he's kind of redeemable too, where he like lets Big Pete borrow the car to go on a date, right? So he's a very interesting character, but the way he is as a bully, he plays such a great bully, and he the face he makes when he's giving Pete's a tough time, and when he's getting, it's such a good bully face. He's really good at playing a bully. And I love how he pushes around his friends, even though his friends are like basically just as bullied as the Pete brothers by him. But yeah, Endless Mike is one of the best bullies on Nickelodeon for sure.
Clay, what are your thoughts on Endless Mike?
His teeth. I remember his teeth, and you know that's something, you know, I can't speak on that, but he had those kind of like strange teeth, and he was smile. He had a very like sneaky smile.
Very punchable
yeah.
smile. Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what kind of like makes him. He's kind of grimy. He's kind of sleazy. Like he is a different villain from the other ones. Whereas I feel like Paper Cut is like the traditional Pete and Pete. To have a traditional Pete and Pete villain, you have Paper Cut. Whereas Mike is more of like a relatable, like, oh God, I know someone like that. I know someone like that. Ugh, I don't like that. I'm gonna go with Endless Mike. You know, he really stands out there.
Yeah, I will always sing the praises of Paper Cut and how it changed the course of its history. But I will concede that Endless Mike is the more memorable one. And it gets to a point where every time he shows up, you can't help like Iggy Pop, like you can't help but smile because you know something is about to happen, and you never know what. Even if it's just him sticking ice down Big Pete's pants, just because while Big Pete is pleading for him for help, and it's like, yes, can I top you off there, pal? And puts another ice cube.
He always delivers. He always delivers.
You love to hate that character. That is a love to hate character right there, where you're like, oh, he did it so well. Oh, I
And he
hate
is
that he
kind
did
of
it so well.
scary in the terms of the show. He is scary. Like when you find out it's gonna be him, or when they run into him, you're like, oh no, oh gosh, now things have changed. Now the game has changed. So yeah, I love Endless Mike. He's great.
All right, now we have Battle of the Coaches. We have both coaches, Cornwallis and Beano Glatner, and then also Coach Ed Narrins for the Orange Lazarus. This may be a super easy one. Clay, which one are you voting for?
Narrins, right there.
Yeah, I'm
Enough
going
said.
Narrins. I think I said enough earlier on it, but yeah, I'm going Coach Ed Narrins as well, all the way.
Yep, same. So Ed Narrins moves on to the next. Super easy. Like I said, once we get through this last character that we have not spoken on yet, the rest of these are probably going to fly. So our last pairing is Park Ranger Thorssen and Principal Kent Schwinger.
Adam West.
Yep.
Adam West. Adam West. Adam West. I don't think you can go wrong. You can't go wrong with it. It's a perfect pair of, again, that weird comedy that Pete and Pete was known for, and then you just throw in this kind of like, I'm Adam West. I can't do an Adam West impression, trust me. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love Adam West. Adam West is great. He's a charm in anything he's in. He always brings 110%. And I don't know if this like started this thing where Adam West became just a random character inside of other things after this point. I mean, obviously he's a character actor. He's been in lots of stuff, but after this, I mean, he was the mayor of Family Guy for the longest time. He's the principal of Pete and Pete's school. I don't know when he made the shift into like kids media more, but it might have been Pete and Pete where he made that shift over into doing kids media, because he's ended up doing a lot more work with Nickelodeon later on in other shows. So, and he was in Goosebumps. I don't know if he ever did an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode. I don't think he did. I think we missed that opportunity, but he did a Goosebumps episode, Mass Mutant. Great actor. So sad he passed, but gosh, man, he gave us a great time while he was here. So I'm going with Ken Schwinger. Park Ranger Thorssen, as great as you are, you're not Adam West. So
I'm gonna have to go with Kent. Adam West once again brings it to the role. Kind of brings that weirdness to it, but also that serious tone at certain times. But the way he says it, that inflection, it's funny. It's a joke on there, and you know it's a joke. I like that. I like him. I like that character.
All right, so we are getting down to it. We're on the final four of every single one of these. So these will go a little quicker and probably a little tougher in some of them. So we are now going to go to the staff bracket. And first pairing, we have Miss Fingerwood and Mr. Slurm. For those listening, Jordy just went, oh no. Like his face went, oh crap. Jordy, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna have to. I mean, I know Miss Fingerwood, she's a big part of the show. I mean, she's one of the most pivotal teachers in the show. But Mr. Slurm, I like I said earlier, like I love that type of character. And that scene between him and Pete, where he sees Pete's value, and I like that idea of somebody that can seem like rigid and strict and like impossible to please, really is just looking for you to do your best in your own way. And then once you've shown that, they're willing to show you respect and stuff, because they understand that there's multiple ways to get to an end, right? And teaching him to appreciate things that he has. And obviously the metaphor for how it's like, or not a metaphor, but kind of the idea that like his character lost his hand probably at a young age and has not been able to do things as well since then, and he doesn't want to see people that have two hands not take the chance to use that opportunity. So there's a really great lesson in his character as well. And that performance is great. So Mr. Slurm, I'm gonna have to go, but Miss Fingerwood, we love you.
I will have to go with Miss Fingerwood on this one. I feel like Pete and Pete always did a wonderful job. We've already talked about, Iggy Pop, Sid Straw, who plays Miss Fingerwood, is also a musician as well. The show brought in these kind of like weird punk, grunge, folk, at times artists to play these roles. And for her to kind of come in and play this nerdish standoff, character that got multiple episodes, but also kind of had a nice plot line here and there. I'm gonna keep going with her. I love Mr. Slurm. Again, the hand attachment thing. I remember that in my brain, how ridiculous those types of things are. But Miss Fingerwood, I feel like still is my choice right now.
I mentioned it earlier. It was my favorite episode because of Mr. Slurm and the lesson that he gave. It hit me where I live. Um, I'm gonna have to go with Mr. Slurm. Much like Jordy, I love Miss Fingerwood. Mr. Slurm absolutely hit where I live. All right. This one may be a bit more simple for all of us. We have bus driver Stu Benedict or Mr. Beverly.
I'm gonna have to go with Stu. Stu, keep driving your bus, buddy, because you're going to the next round.
Oh man, Stu as well. Stu's a way more important character in the show, and yeah, Stu Benedict all the way.
Same. I'm also voting for Stu Benedict. All right, now this pairing. Oh goodness. We're going to friends and family bracket, and this four. Oh, this is gonna be tough because we're starting with Mr. Tastee or Artie.
Oh gosh.
I mean, if there was ever an Avengers level threat of our arguments against this, I feel like this is going to be the one right here.
Mm,
All right, so I will always go in for Artie for right now against Mr. Tastee, and I feel like Mr. Tastee again represents summers, happiness, childhood. Has this really sad backstory where he's just lonely. I think that those are just such wonderful episodes. I loved that character. I love that we never are revealed who he is, what he looks like underneath. The kids all have their own, special little things that they think he is or who he thinks he is. But then you have Artie, who is the strongest man in the world. And again, sets the tone for the show. Like, he is weird, he's surreal, he's almost a fever dream character of, is this real? Am I really watching this 27-year-old man run around in tight outfits with kids and we're all just, okay with it? But the town was okay with it because they knew Artie was harmless. They knew Artie was there to have fun and to protect the kids. That was the other thing, is he was kind of their protector. And that was part of Pete's growing up, was once Artie left, he finally didn't need that protection anymore. So I think in the actual scope of the show, Artie is going to be more important to me than Mr. Tastee.
I'm gonna have to go the same way. I mean, Artie is one of the most pivotal characters in the entire show. I mean, we talked about it already. The show changed after his exit. The show even recognizes how important he is by giving him the two-parter. One of the only two-parters I think that Pete and Pete ever has. So I mean, he's a top level character. When I think of Pete and Pete, I can only think of Artie in there with the two brothers. At the very top, it's Pete, and Artie. So I'm gonna have to give it to Artie. But I love Mr. Tastee. He's a hugely iconic character. I love what he represents in the show. Like you say, summertime happiness as a child, like these summer memories when you're a kid, when running to the ice cream truck is like one, this huge thing, right? But yeah, Artie is really important, and he kind of represents childhood in a larger sense than Mr. Tastee does. So I'm going Artie.
all right. I'm also going to say Artie. Love Mr. Tastee, but Artie is he is an all level all his own. And then we're down to the Mecklenbergs. Father versus daughter, James versus Nona. I'm just gonna throw it out. I'm gonna throw it to Nona. I love Iggy Pop, but I love the dynamic between the two. But what sells the whole thing for me is Nona.
I mean, you made it this far, Iggy, but unfortunately, Nona, as far as a character in the show, is just far more important than her father is. And I think, I love that episode, but it's really the important part is Nona. And Michelle did a great job merging into a show and just becoming another one of the characters and blending in and not feeling like a forced in, side character. So yeah, I'm going with Nona.
One of my favorite Nona moments is when she's putting pieces or pictures of her old house on her new house to look
Yes,
to look like
the
it,
brick, yeah.
and that her dog won't pee, so she has to remind it like kind of like where it needs to pee. I think it's such a great character starting out. Like you get to know Nona a little bit more. I love Iggy Pop. I love the character. I love that they gave again this grungy, gritty type person who's known for different kinds of art, on stage, different kinds of doing things, and they brought him in, and he was able to kind of play a more reserved person at times. And I still feel like Nona though. Nona is gonna
Mm.
have to go to my next round though.
All right, and now we're going to move to our bullies and antagonists bracket, and we are going to start with Matt Uplinger or Endless Mike.
Endless Mike. He is just for me, one of those, if it's not gonna be paper cut, Endless Mike is there. He's the one when I think of villains or bad guys from the show, Endless Mike is stuck in my head. I think he had probably the most impact on some of the episodes. So I'm gonna have to go with Endless Mike.
Endless Mike it is. I mean, he will continue to be endless because he's taking out Matt Uplinger. Like being a great lifeguard, being a good like, evil lifeguard is great, but being the pan-ultimate villain of, the younger group, uh Endless Mike he lives up to his name. He's a hellstorm. He's a great character. He is impactful in some of my favorite episodes like Halloweeny. So yeah, I'm going Endless Mike all the way.
I think Matt losing this is going to make him wet the pool.
Oh no, yeah, I can't imagine what he'll do to the neighborhood pool now.
I also agree, Endless Mike. And then we end this bracket with Coach Ed Narrins or Principal Kent Schwinger.
Oh my gosh, this is a really tough one for me. I really love Adam West in the show, but Coach Ed Naris is like more a better villain to me than Ken Schwinger. I'm gonna have to say, as far as that episode goes, the whole Field of Dreams, Field of Pete. I'm gonna have to go with Coach Ed Nairns. I know that sounds crazy, but Coach Ed Nairns is the way that character is presented in the show is very standout. So I'm going Coach Ed Nairns.
I'm gonna have to go with the coach as well. Surprisingly, I think he fits in with the theme of the show, with the kind of the concept of the show a little bit more, to where you have this mysterious coach who never leaves his car. He's addicted to this cold substance that's named after biblical times. I think if we were ever gonna say if there was a villain that fit within Pete and Pete's weirdness or surrealness, that's the kind of character and the kind of role that we're talking about.
And I would say Principal Kent Schwinger. I absolutely love that villain. Love that villain. But I am happy that if he was knocked out by anybody, it was Coach Ed Narrins. And this is it. Our final rounds.
Oh
Getting
boy.
hard.
All
Those
right.
were hard.
The last ones have been very hard, honestly.
So we're down to it. This is the final one, the winner of each bracket. So starting with the staff, it is between Mr. Slurm or Bus Driver Stu. And I will start. And I love Mr. Slurm, but Stu Benedict is probably the more memorable. has more character. He's not a one note, and he's also a very relatable character. Uh, Granted, a very extreme character in his passions, but we've all felt that way. I love Stu Benedict. I do not want to sing "Happy and You Know It" around him at all, but it's gonna have to be Stu for me. As much as I love Mr. Slurm.
Stu is also going to be my pick for this round. I think the man is absolutely insane at times, which is brilliant at other times. He has some great episodes. He has some great scenes, some great one-liners. Like I said, I still remember, driving home on a bus, and even as a kid, like thinking my bus driver would be dressed like Stu, wearing the hat, wearing the uniform and stuff. And it's like instead they're wearing like, sweatpants and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was so disappointed. Why can't my bus driver look like Stu? So I'm going to go with Stu on this one.
It's gonna be Stu all the way, I guess, because I'm voting Stu too. As much as I love Mr. Slurm, Stu is a far more important character. And gosh, those performances, he adds every episode he's in, he adds something to it. So I'm giving it to Stu because he is the penultimate bus driver of Pete and Pete.
I am king! I am the most exalted potentate on the open road!
And our final round for friends and family bracket, it is between Artie or Nona.
How? This is
How do you choose? I don't want to choose.
All right, well, Clay, we'll start with you.
All right. Well, I will shout to the heavens about everything that Michelle Trachtenberg did for Nickelodeon. Not just Harriet the Spy, but just anything, jumping in with skits or things that they needed. Being the OG person that started making the movies that got them really set off. The character, Nona, absolutely amazing. So incredibly strange that, again, she wants to wear this cast because she likes the way it itches. Her father, one of the greatest characters that we've talked about on the show. But Artie is Wellsville, kind of wrapped up, summed up a lot of times, we can't explain Artie. And I think that's what kind of makes him an eternal youth, is that he's constantly in motion and constantly going. And I think that's why we've all kind of fallen in love with him and still love him to this day. So I'm going to go with Artie.
I'm gonna go with Artie. I love Michelle Trachtenberg. I do. I love Harriet the Spy. I've got multiple copies of it, and I mean she's a huge part of the show. But like you were saying, Clay, Artie is like the spirit of Wellsville. He much is like the embodiment of the whole town. If there wasn't, I think that kind of shows in Farewell Little Viking. The impact that him disappearing kind of had on the town. Gosh, Artie truly is the spirit that represents Wellsville. So I'm going Artie.
Yeah, and I also was going to vote for Artie. As much as I love Nona and as much as I love Michelle Trachtenberg, Artie, hands down. Like you said it earlier, Pete, Artie. It's in that order. It's gonna have to be.
Woo! Call me a truck and slap me till Wednesday. You're a trucker.
And our final bracket, bullies and antagonists, it is down to Endless Mike Hellstorm or Coach Ed Narrins.
Oh, that's the hard one.
And I started the first one. Clay started the second one. Jordy, you start this one.
These feel like two different leagues. You have like the little leagues of being evil, and you have the big leagues of being evil. Oh gosh, how do I even compare these? I'm gonna have to go Endless Mike. Endless Mike is so much more to the show than Coach Ed Narrins can. Coach Ed Narrins is one of the perfect villains of the series, and that's why he's made it, I think, this far. But Endless Mike truly does stand at the top of the mountain of bullies and antagonists. I don't think there's anyone that stands out any more than Mike Hellstrom. I think the show even knows that. So I'm giving it to Endless Mike.
As much as I love the Orange Lazarus concept and that episode itself, and that character. Endless Mike is the villain of Pete and Pete. I feel like the coach is a great one-off villain, and he worked really well within the context of that episode. But Endless Mike carries over into so much more and becomes kind of that fabric of the show. To now, it's like we're still talking about Endless Mike. Like, I think that is such a great concept for a villain as well. So I'm gonna have to go with Endless Mike.
Yeah, and I'm going to vote for Endless Mike as well.
You don't say. Well, well, well.
So that gives us our 3 winners. Endless Mike, Artie, and Bus Driver Stu, which sounds right on point.
Right.
If you're surprised, you obviously haven't seen the show.
Yes. But it was fun. It's fun to talk about all these characters and appreciate them because the side characters for Pete and Pete are so strong and they're so much fun. But we do have one quick segment that we're going to throw out there for just a few minutes. It'll be a really quick one. And actually, this segment originated from our first bracket that we did, which was Wild Card. So pick a card, any card. It's now time for Wild Card. Okay, Clay, the way this works is we have all the suits: hearts, diamonds, club, spade, joker. Pick one, and it will be a different character from a different Nickelodeon show. And we'll put this character against one of our winners and see which of the two we prefer. So, pick a card: hearts, diamonds, club, spade, joker.
Let's go with hearts.
Hearts. And hearts is Mr. Ernst from Hey Dude. So if we had to put Mr. Ernst against Bus Driver Stu.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Mr. Ernst, here we go. So, Mr. Ernst, yes, great character, played really well. But again, Stu the bus driver. I feel like I'm going to have to go with Stu. I feel like Hey Dude was a show that I really enjoyed growing up as well. But really, Pete and Pete with Stu is going to be stuck in my head.
All right. Jordy.
Oh, give me diamonds.
Diamonds. All right, we have Heifer as the best friend. So Heifer against Artie. Which one do you pick?
I'm gonna go with Artie because Heifer would leave you behind a lot of the time. By the time he realizes that you're in trouble, he's probably been eating for an hour, and then you're Heifer's great and all, but he's not always paying attention. Might not be the best friend in a time in need, or he might just sit on you. So yeah, I'm going with Artie for this one. He might actually help me.
Yeah, I never liked Heifer. He's one of the worst best friends ever on any Nickelodeon show. I don't like Heifer. Artie will stick by your side.
Yeah.
Artie will eat a paper folded origami ninja star. Let's see. I'm going to go with Joker. And Joker is Roger Klotz from Doug. So Roger or Endless Mike.
Why are you gonna do that?
I'm going to still stick with Endless Mike because I got far more enjoyment out of just the sheer chaos. It's so weird that the live action bully was more animated and could do more things than the animated character on Doug.
That's funny, but it's true, yeah.
The shot of Endless Mike kicking the door down and holding an axe and screaming, "Welcome to my nightmare." You would never get that even as a fantasy sequence on Doug. So yeah, we'll stick with Roger. But that is going to be it for our episode, all of you Slimesters. But we do have a closing question for all of you, which is, Who is your favorite citizen of Wellsville? You can write to us via email at splatattack2021@gmail.com. DM us on all of our socials. Just look for Splat Attack Podcast. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, do that. It's a clickety-click below. Interact with us wherever you can. We're always happy to hear from you. Again, thank you, Clay, for taking the time to join us. I know it was last minute, but I had a blast having you. Thank you so much for joining.
It was great to have you. Thank you, Clay. Really do appreciate it.
This was absolutely an amazing time. I can't believe we just talked about Pete for that long. I'm on cloud 9, guys. This was so much fun.
Until our next episode, Jordy, will you help me close the studio, please? I've got to locate the Splat Attack archives to look into Nickelodeon's history for our next episode.
Aye, co-captain. But have I told Stu that we're done with the studio tour yet? Because I think he's still transporting some guests around, so we might need to whistle him down.
If you're happy and you know.
Man, I just fixed the wall that Manny crashed into. Now we gotta fix this one.
Should we worry about Stu? That was a pretty extensive crash.
Nah, Stu's indestructible. Unlike his bus, though.
We'll splat you later, Slimesters.
This episode was recorded at Splat Attack Studios and virtual home studios, though none in Florida.